Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you all are doing good. Today, in this video, we are going to learn another important program, which is program to find factorial of a given number. This program is important and it is one of the most asked program in interviews as well as in academic exams. So you must know how to code this particular program. Okay, so let's start with the solution. Before jumping to the solution, first of all, let's understand that what the term factorial is. So as you can see here, the definition: factorial of a non-negative integer n is the multiplication of all positive integers smaller than or equal to n. You can see there are two terms, non-negative integer and positive integers. These two are totally different. Let's first understand what is the difference between non-negative integer and positive integers. So non-negative integer means the number or the integer which is not negative. So you can consider 0 here. So we can consider 0, 1, 2 and so on. Okay. So these are non-negative integers. We can consider 0 here because 0 is not negative. But for positive integers, we have to consider from 1 and 2 and so on. Okay, we do not consider 0 as positive integer, but we consider 0 as non-negative integer. This is simple, the difference between non-negative integer and positive integers. Non-negative integers start from 0 and positive integers start from 1. Okay, so now let's come to the definition. Factorial of a non-negative integer is the multiplication of all positive integers smaller than or equal to n. So basically, suppose if I have to find factorial for 6, then what the definition says? It is the multiplication of all positive integers smaller than or equal to. So we can write simply 6 into 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Why? Because all these numbers, all these are, first of all these are positive integers. We are not considering 0 here because the definition says multiplication of all positive integers which are smaller than. So as you can see, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is smaller than 6, and the definition says or equal to n. In here we have taken the n value 6, so we can multiply 6 with the smaller values. So overall the result comes is, if you multiply the value, then it comes 720. So we can simply write the factorial of 6 is 720, and it is simply mathematical denotation, like a factorial is represented by a number and this symbol which is exclamatory mark at the end. Suppose if you have to write the factorial for 5, then you can simply write this. Okay, and here one important point: the factorial of a non-negative integer means factorial is defined for all the non-negative integers. Means factorial is defined for value 0, value 1, then value 2 and so on. So so if I took the definition, then we can simply write factorial of a non-negative integer is the multiplication of all positive integers smaller than or equal to n, but there is no value which is less than 0 and it is considered as positive integer. There is no positive integer less than 0. So according to the definition, the factorial of 0 is defined as 1. This is the defined value. This is the value that you have to remember. If someone asks you what is 0 factorial value, then you simply answer 0 factorial is 1. Okay, now for all other positive integers like 1, 2, 3, this definition is correct. Okay, so simply, like if I have to find what is the value of 5 factorial, then simply I can write the multiplication of all positive integers smaller than or equal to n, which will be 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. If we multiply, then 5 4 20, then 23 60, 60 to 120, and 120 into 1 is 120. So factorial value of 5 is 120. Okay, we can take the definition in another way. Suppose if I have to write 5 factorial, then I can write 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, okay, which is I can write 720. But let's consider the definition in another way. So we can think like factorial of any number is the multiplication of all the numbers starting from 1 till that number n. Suppose if I am taking n, then n factorial will be multiplication of all the numbers 1 starting from 1 till that number, 1 into 2 into 3 into till that number. These both are same. Suppose if I write 5 factorial as 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1, and another way I write 5 factorial is multiplication of all the numbers starting from 1 till n, 1 into 2 into 3 into 4 into 5. These two multiplication values are same, because if we multiply a into b and b into a, the result will come same. So we can consider the definition in another way and in simpler way, which is multiplication of all the numbers starting from 1 till that number. Okay, so in similar way we have to just code it, and I think you might have guessed the solution for coding part. Like simple, what we have to do, we can simply run a loop starting from the value 1 and we can traverse till the number n. Suppose if I have to write find factorial of n. Okay, so what we can do, we can simply run a loop for I is equal to 1 to I is equal to n, and what we can do in each step, in each iteration, what we are doing, we are simply multiplying the ith value to a variable. So what we can do, we can initialize a variable before entering into the loop. So we can write int answer is equal to 1. So because we are multiplying, so the multiplication value may be exceed, or it can be a huge value, a large value. So it is better to store in a large variable. So we have to take care of this two long int. I have taken long int answer is equal to 1. Why I have taken 1 not 0? So this is the key point that you have to remember. In some program you have to do the addition or you have to find the sum, but in some another programs you have to find the product, means multiplication. So whenever you are finding sum or addition, you initialize a variable with initial value of 0 to it. But whenever you are finding product or multiplication, then you initialize the variable with initial value of 1. Why? Because in addition the initial value is 0 and 0 added with any other number equals to the that number. Okay, like 0 plus 5 is 5. And for product part you will consider initial value is 1. Why? Because if we consider 0, then 0 multiplied by any number will result to 0. Okay, so this overall answer will come to 0. This is not we want. We want the result, which is like 5 factorial is 720. And if we write here a long int answer is equal to 0, then overall answer will come to 0. So for product part, we should take initial value 1 to a variable. Okay, because 1 multiplied by any number will give the same number. So now what we can do, we have taken initial variable and well initialize the value 1 to it. Now we'll simply traverse and we will multiply. How will we multiply? We can simply write answer is equal to answer into I. That's it. And at last, after the iteration over, we can simply write cout answer, which is our the result, the factorial value of the value n. Okay. So to understand this part, let's dry run this piece of code for value n is equal to 5. Okay, so initially I have taken n is equal to 5 and answer is equal to what? 1. Okay, now I am traversing for, I am doing this operation each time. What? Answer is equal to answer into I. Okay, so first write for I is equal to 1, and this loop will run for I is equal to 1, I is equal to 2, I is equal to 3, then 4, then 5. We are traversing from I is equal to 1 to I is equal to, here you can see in the loop we are traversing from I is equal to n to I is equal to n, both are included. Okay, so for I is equal to n, we can simply do answer is equal to answer, initial value of answer is 1 and I value is also 1, so 1 into 1 is, answer will be 1. So we can simply write here answer value will change to 1. For I is equal to n, answer become 1. Okay, now for I is equal to 2, for I just a minute, this is good. For I is equal to 2, we have to do the same operation, answer is answer, initial answer value is 1 and multiplied by I which is 2. Look this operation, answer is equal to answer into I, the initial value is 1 and ith value is 2, so now answer will become what, 2. In same way, here we can simply write 2 into 3 which is 6, here 6 into 4 which is 24, and at last answer is equal to 24 into 5 which is 120. And after the loop is over, I is equal to 5, the loop breaks and we are simply printing the answer value which at last stores the value 120. So 120 will be the factorial value for 5. So this is our answer. So I hope you have understood the definition of the factorial, and you have to carefully remember both the terms non-negative integer and positive integers, or you can simply remember the factorial is the multiplication of all the integers starting from 1 to that number. This is the simpler definition of the factorial, and in similar way you can simply write the program or write the code which is very easy. Okay, so I hope you have understood the definition as well as the solution part. Now let's code it. Let's include all the header files. Let's include iostream. We are not doing any other operations, so we do not need to include any other header files. We are doing just simply input output operations, so it is enough to include iostream and not any other libraries. Okay, so using namespace std and int main, let's first take the input integer which is int n, scene n. Okay, and create a variable where we have to store the factorial value and initialize value 1 to it initially. Okay, why? Because we are storing the product value, and I have used long int here because the factorial value may exceed or it may be a huge value, so I have used long int. Okay, now what we have to do, we can simply run a loop I is equal to 1 to I less than equal to n, and each time we are simply incrementing by 1. What we have to do, we can simply write answer is equal to answer multiplied by I. This is all that we have did, and simply after the iteration is over, simply return the answer value which will store our factorial. And so it is int main, so simply return 0. Okay, now let's run for a value which was 5. So as you can see, the factorial value of 5 was 120, and if you write like 6, then it should come 720, and here it is. So the code runs perfectly fine. So this was all about the factorial program. Now talking about the time complexity of the code. So the time complexity is very simple. We are simply running a loop for I is equal to 1 to I is equal to n, and it is traversing till n times. So we can simply write the time complexity for this code will be big O of n. Okay, and this is the iterative code for the factorial program. We can do it another way, like we can use recursion for solving this problem, but for this video I have used only iterative method. In another videos I'll use recursive method. Okay, I hope you have understood the logic for this particular factorial program, and this is a simple program, but it is most important program, one of the important program you can say, because it is asked in most of the interviews as well as in academic exams, or you can say in online assessment in the form of MCQ or in form of programs. So if you understood the solution, if you like the thought process, then you can share this video as much as possible. And to get such more content related to programming and technology, and particularly related to coding, then you can subscribe my channel. Thanks.